Hello, people of the world and wherever else you are listening to this. It is not Sunday. It is the Ben Briggs podcast, though, but it is not Sunday. It is Monday. Monday, the 3rd of June, but this is Sunday, the 2nd of June's edition. I was fucking ill yesterday, all right? There, it's come out. I've had a bit of a sniffle all weekend, so I apologise for any sniffing, gurgling, gargling, coughing, or whatever is going to be coming into your ears within the next half hour. But, you know, sometimes even the best of us, even the best of us get ill, There's nothing I can do about it. There's germs, bugs, people are filthy, aren't they? We are a disease-ridden fucking species, and for some reason, I have had that going on this weekend. However, he says, in a bit of a gruff voice, we shall endeavour to soldier on, won't we? That's what we do here at the Ben Briggs podcast. We soldier on, don't we? Through adversity. See this as some sort of... I know most people on here probably see this as some sort of mental breakdown going on, but let's see this as some sort of way through adversity. Anyway, I hope you are doing well. I hope you're healthy, fit, fighting, dosed up with vitamins, minerals. The amount of drugs I've got going through my system at the moment, not hard drugs, obviously. It's not really my thing, but... the amount of prescription medication I have pumping through these veins at the moment is quite a lot, but it is getting me through. So anyway, let's start this off. Holy shit. With just telling you what I've been up to really for the last week. Let's do that, shall we? I've had a few nice gigs. I had 2 gigs in Bromsgrove. One got cancelled because it was like bank holiday last week. I think I might have talked about it last Sunday, actually. And then I had another one this week at a place called the Club 178 Club. That is a lovely little, in the middle of nowhere. It's just a random, I think it used to be a house. It's like a pub in the middle of nowhere on the outskirts of Bromsgrove. It's got a lovely sort of like seated, table-seated sort of like area to the back. And I remember doing it, when did I do it last? I did it last in November, and it was fucking freezing. The weather has been glorious, by the way, this weekend here in the UK. I washed off my car. Here's the thing. The things you won't end up owning you. I had my wheels redone on my car by the wheel clinic. Where else would you take it? If your wheels need medical attention, urgent medical attention, because this is the thing, right? When I had a car before and it just had hubcaps, just like, that's what the Americans call it, and it had wheel discs, whatever they are. The things you push on, I can't even think of the word or what's that much. I've become that consumed by Americanisms. I can't even think of the English word. But the hubcaps you used to like put on, and when they were fucked, you'd just buy new ones. They were like about 25 quid each. You'd just put new ones on and your car looked nice again, right? And because I'm always parking up late at night, I'm always late for gigs, always rushing everywhere to a fucking gig. Even if I leave on time, I'll get there with about like 5 minutes to spare because of the fucking traffic. I'll hit some sort of traffic that screws me up, or I'll hit a 50 mile an hour zone and I'm too much of a pussy to go 51. Ah, dear. I shit out at 50. That's it. I put the cruise control to 50, I do that, and then somebody in front of me's like doing 48 miles an hour, so I have to take it off cruise control, then brake, and then I have to reset the cruise control to go round them, and then suddenly they decide to speed up, don't they, and do the 50. So you're on the outside just in some sort of like weird paraplegic race. Both hit at 50 miles an hour, looking across at each other, ready for the fucking 50 zone to end. And then it's who's got the metal. Anyway. What was I on about? Wheels. I had my wheels done. So they look fucking amazing. It cost me like 75 quid a wheel. So it cost me 300 quid for the entire set, to have the entire set done. And they were scraped to shit. Because I'm rushing to gigs. I'm rushing to park. Yeah, invariably, I'm parking on the passenger side. I know I've got like the parking sensors and shit like that. But when you're parking pitch black at night and you're in a hurry anyway, your wheels are going to get scuffed. But as a result of having my wheels done, I am fucking driving around like driving Miss Daisy at the minute, avoiding all potholes, even if it means going on the wrong side of the road, not getting too close to the curb, slowing down when people are approaching me because I know they expect me to go up the curb. I had this the other day. Some guys shout out the window, "Why don't you just go at the curb?" I've just had my fucking wheels done, mate. Just spent 300 quid on those. Ooh, he's had his wheels done. It did make me laugh, actually, when he said that. I shouted out the window, "Ooh, he's had his wheels done." Yeah, I've had my wheels done. Anyway, so there I am, like driving around everywhere at the moment, like looking for potholes. That's all I'm doing. And they are fucking everywhere. There's one right down the end of my road, and it's like halfway across the road. So you either have to go really close to the parked cars or you have to go round it on the wrong side of the road. And invariably, there's always somebody coming the other way. So you have to weigh it up between whether you want your wheels scuffed or you want your wing mirror taken off. It's an exciting life, isn't it? It's an exciting life. You just can't, for some reason, I just can't seem to be able to relax in life. Never mind. Anyway, you sell something on eBay and somebody it pays for it, and you get a notification they pay for it, and then immediately, when are you sending this out? I'm not fucking Amazon. You know what I mean? I'm not Amazon. It says it'll be sent out in 3 days. I'll fucking send it out within 3 days. Calm your fucking horses. Anyway, that's why is that interface not available? I have no idea. Anyway. Yeah, Jesus Christ. That's the ranting over. Like, well, it's possibly not, is it? It's possibly not. You think things are over and then they're not. Then they come back to haunt you. Here's a tale from today, I'll tell you. Let's have a bit of tea before we start this. Now, to clarify, I was out and about today. I need to disconnect that. Fuck off. Jesus. Even now, like trying to do this, shit's coming up. Let's just close that down. My fucking phone is connected to my MacBook Pro. I didn't ask it to do that. It's just connected to it. This is how they're going to get you, isn't it? This is what they're doing. They're listening in right now. At least, listen through the proper channels. So at least it can register as a listening on my stats. Oh, fucking hell. My phone connects to the fucking MacBook Pro without me even wanting it to. Just automatically. Yeah, we'll just connect to that. That's fine. Everything is fucking watching you these days, isn't it? Anyway, let's get on with this, what we were going to talk about. Let's have a little bit more tea. Today. Yeah, tea done. Right, today. Well, this actually began yesterday. I got a message yesterday, right, from a lovely promoter. He's a very nice guy. I like him, right? I did a gig for him, I don't know, about a year ago, something like that. Maybe a year ago, maybe a little bit longer, maybe a little bit shorter. I have no idea. All gigs seem to run into each other. I was discussing this at that Bromsgrove gig the other night. I have no idea where I saw people last. I have no idea. Every gig seems to just melt into each other. I have a fucking terrible memory for remembering people. However, well, not remembering people, but remembering where I've seen them. However, I got a message on WhatsApp, which I always find a little bit intrusive, because that's kind of like a private messaging service, isn't it? Just send me a fucking text or a message on Facebook. However, I imagine it shows a bit of closeness there because they've got your mobile number. But I got a message on WhatsApp like that. And it was from a promoter who I did a gig for. And somebody in the audience got offended by the mentioning of Auschwitz in a joke. Now, the joke, the use of Auschwitz is as a sort of like simile. The joke itself, the target of the joke is I'm discussing people who improved themselves during the pandemic. That was that's the target of the joke. Now, to extrapolate that, and I basically say, that's people improving themselves as millions of people around the world are dying. That's equivalent of walking out of Auschwitz at the end of the Second World War and saying, hey guys, check out my new tattoo and guess who's beach body ready. Now, this guy had been to Auschwitz. He was something to do with the theatre. He'd been to Auschwitz, which is an odd holiday destination. I always find it a bit weird when people want to go. There's something quite macabre around wanting to visit places like that. If I go on holiday, I want to have a bit of a laugh, probably get a suntan, sit on the beach, go for a bit of swimming, have a look around the local town, see some things I wouldn't normally see. I imagine you're going to see that in Auschwitz. However, I don't want to walk around sort of like solemn and think, I was enjoying my holiday. Now I feel a bit sad. That's one reason I go on holiday, because I don't want to fucking feel sad. And I think a lot of people go to Auschwitz, if they haven't had family members die there or whatever. I don't know if he had family members die there. I don't know. I imagine he didn't know them because it was quite some time ago. I imagine a lot of people go there like if they had family die there. But the people who don't have family die there just sort of like go to say they've been and then kind of lecture people about how it's moved them. And I think this was kind of one of the guys like that. I don't know. I don't know his full family history background. I have no idea. However, he sent me a big, long email about it. The promoter, who I shall reiterate is a lovely bloke, said for me not to respond at the time and that he would deal with it. So I'd already written out like a whole thing explaining about how... And you're like, why the fuck am I having to give out fact sheets now with material? It's clear that you're using an extreme example to explain how selfish and self-righteous and self-promoting these people during the pandemic were. That's it. That's all. I couldn't think off the top of my head of another scenario or event where millions of people had died to juxtapose that against people self-promoting during the pandemic. So somebody self-promoting in a horrendous event that millions of people died. Now, if you think of an event where millions of people died, you're thinking Holocaust. At least I am. I can't think of, our survey says, bing, 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 bing. That's it. No. Yeah. So that's the example used. Yeah, it's not having a go at the Holocaust. It's having a go at the people who were self-promoting. At least that's the idea behind it anyway. But people seem to hear that one thing and then fucking freak out. And this guy was like one of those. But you can't be accountable for what people are going to freak out for. You've just got to do what you believe is A, making a point, and B, making a funny point, I think. Whether that works or not is a different matter. Anyway, this guy sent me this long email. I was going to reply to him in a nice way, because at the end of the day, all it is a difference of opinion. There's no need to get nasty, no need to, like, although for some reason, anybody who wants to cancel you or anything like that always seems to get quite nasty and personal. But I always like to treat it kind of nice. I'm not going to fucking, it's a difference of opinion, isn't it? That's all it is. You have different types of senses of humour, don't you? You don't meet people and then find that they've got a different sense of humour for you and then want them to immediately lose their job. That would be so bizarre, wouldn't it? If you met somebody at a party and they came over to you and they had a different sense of humour to you and you didn't really care for their sense of humour, that you want them to lose their job, their income, and never, ever work a day again in their life. That would be fucking an extreme, thing to happen, wouldn't it? But this is what these people want sometimes. And I think it's just, a lot of the time, it is like, there's power now in being offended. That's the thing. Years ago, like, somebody would be offended by something and somebody else would just go, "Oh, shut up, you twat." And that'd be the end of it. But now, because you can get attention for being offended by things, and you get that glorious, lovely feeling that we all love, don't we? We all love that feeling of being self-righteous and self-important. It's very intoxicating. I fucking done it. Like, I completely understand where that feeling comes from. Somebody's a bit shirty with you in the shop. Actually, I think you'll find that it's good being knowledgeable, isn't it? It's good people, you get a good feeling about putting somebody in their place, don't you, when they're being a fucking arsehole? Because you get to be the good person, don't you? And that's what people are wanting. They want that feeling of being the good person. And you can't hold that against people, because that is just like one of the fundamental things. They think they're being a good person. They think I'm being a bad person, and they're doing the right thing. Now, apparently this guy lost his job as like on the theatre council or something, which, isn't... Nobody wants that out of a comedy set, do they? I don't want to lose my job going on stage, doing a bit, and somebody loses their position or their job over it because of the way they reacted against that. Obviously, he's in full control of how he reacts. That's the thing that people don't seem to realise. You are in control of how you react to things. And he reacted in a bad way, I think, contacting me or whatever. But, anyway. No, I didn't really want him to lose his, position there or anything like that. There's no sort of there's no pride in that, or no self-satisfaction in somebody losing their position in a theatre because, how they reacted. There's no, that's what you deserve, because I don't think he really deserved that. He was passionate about what he thought. He wanted to make a point. The point he wanted to make, I think, was that he's been to Auschwitz, and how much it affected him, because obviously it's going to be an emotive subject for him, isn't it? If he's been there, and that becomes part of the stories that he tells, how that affected him, doesn't it? And then that becomes his story, doesn't it? And then, when he hears something against that, like he was like, this guy's, using Auschwitz in a joke. I was quite upset when I went there. and it becomes an emotional issue. Anyway, apparently the guy lost his job. Some more tea there. But because I felt a little bit censored, maybe, but out of respect for the promoter, I didn't reply to the guy. Out of respect for him, and a little bit, I was just like, I can't really be doing with this hassle. If somebody else can deal with it, that's fucking perfectly great. But it was mainly out of respect. I'd already written it out, and I was just about to send it off. And as I say, he's a lovely promoter. He's looking after his comedy night. He's trying to put out a fire before it starts. We didn't know how far it was going to go because this guy's obviously on the committee at the theatre, or was on the committee of the theatre. However, the lovely guy who's a promoter, who oddly hasn't booked me since. There we go. Contacted me yesterday because he now runs a podcast. He now does a podcast that has things to do with like comedy in there and things like that. I think he runs it with like another promoter. I did listen to an episode yesterday just to get an idea of the vibe, because initially, and he wanted me to come on and discuss that incident, which seems a bit, this is dragging on, isn't it? 21 minutes. Which, from my perspective, I was initially, like, he messaged me while I was on the way to a gig. So I was like, yeah, I don't mind. Yeah, that's fine. And then with hindsight, thinking about it, I was like, to be honest, when they rang up, I've got a gig now anyway, when they wanted to do it. But I was like, well, at the time, you didn't really want me to discuss it. I discussed it with him, but you didn't really want me to address the issue with the guy who was making the complaint. And now it just seemed a bit, and I'm not saying it was, but it just seemed a bit like you need content for your podcast. The irony of me talking about this on my podcast because I need content for my podcast is not lost on me, by the way. Yeah, but there we go. That's not lost on me. I'm fully self-aware of what is going on. This is a very meta moment. Yeah, it just seems like, oh, you needed content for your podcast, and like you just wanted me to talk about it, and then it's just rehashing the same old shit. Which I think I discussed it at the time on here, but not to this sort of like extent or length. So, yeah, the thing about it is, it's not going to achieve anything at all. That guy is still not with the theatre or whatever. He's not going to change his views about it. I'm not going to change my views about what sort of material I do. And I'm not trying to be a badass or a fucking edgelord like everybody dismissively says about comedians who do dark material. I'd like to think there's a little bit more thought into it than that. Although, there's people who like, edgy comedy and like just mentioning stuff. If it's clever and edgy, it's good. But everybody sort of like uses that edgelord as a dismissive term. Whereas maybe those people are not particularly experienced at comedy, and maybe one day they're going to come out with something fucking brilliant, but because you branded them this, it's a fucking difficult thing to do. Dark comedy is a fucking difficult thing to do, and that's what people don't realise who don't do it. Sometimes you're going to get it wrong. This guy wasn't particularly happy with my mentioning of Auschwitz, and he took exception to it for whatever reasons he had for that. And that's okay. That's all right. But where I kind of draw the line is, like, if somebody's trying to actively get you banned from a comedy club or close down your career because you have a different sense of humour to them. That's it. That's the bottom line. You have a different sense of humour from somebody else. And I don't think discussing that on somebody else's podcast would be necessarily a good thing to do, because you just become one of those people who goes, oh, you can't say anything these days, can you? You can't say anything. Well, you know, you've got to have something behind it if you are going to say things, and you have to be open to having those, the things you say questioned, which is fine. That's perfectly fine. I'm okay with that. And I just wish at the time I could have sent that email off, just explaining where the joke's coming from and that sort of thing, because we're fucking humans. You know what I mean? You don't have to just ignore somebody. You can engage with them. You can kind of like get a vibe of somebody, of what they're like. He basically, you know, was very affected by going to Auschwitz and didn't take too kindly to it being used in a joke, which is fair enough. I have no malice against the guy, and I hope he has found another theatre to be on the directorship of, or whatever he did. Jesus Christ. Yeah, so it just seemed like somebody wanted to fill some time on a podcast, and I didn't really, after thinking about it, and he is a lovely bloke, the promoter, after thinking about it, and then you message it on WhatsApp, and it's just not coming across that well, is it? And then, like, because I was in a rush today, just looking at it, stuff while I was out and about, I made, you know, horrendous faux pas with my grammar and punctuation and spelling and predictive text. So, you know, that's not... It's never a good thing, is it? When you type something off and you're like typing it off and you're like, fucking, okay, yeah, that's everything. I'm doing quick. Okay, fucking, I've got to get back in the car, put that in my pocket, and then you get a message going, oh, I think you went off track there. Well, yeah, I'm doing about 3 or 4 things at once at the minute, bud. You know, that's what I'm doing. You know, I'm getting in my car after having been for an appointment somewhere, and I'm trying to message you back, and like giving you the time of day to message you back. Not that my time is particularly important, but you know, and then you get to your destination. I think you went off track. I'm sorry if my predictive text, you know, if I hit the wrong key with my thumb as I was typing it to you and then ramming my phone in my pocket. I'm sorry about that. Like, you win everything. I don't know. It's always the way, isn't it, online or anything like that. This is nothing to do with this promoter, by the way. But like, you see, it's amazing how one spelling error or one wrong bit of grammar in a post on social media when people are arguing, and people completely discount their argument, don't they? I think you'll find that is the American spelling of that word. Okay. So everything else is irrelevant, is that it? This is why I don't engage with shit on social media. And this is why you just shouldn't engage with anyone, because either way, whatever way it comes out, you know, if I'd have sent that email to the guy, he'd have come back with a load of shit. But at least I've said my bit, you know, I've explained, you know, and tried to get him on the right path of, you know, I think you've misunderstood the target of the joke. You're misunderstanding the subject of the joke for the target of the joke. That's it. But he'd have come back with a load of shit, wouldn't he? That's it. Because nobody ever in that circumstance goes, oh my God, you're right. Oh my God. I didn't see it like that. I saw the buzzword. I heard the buzzword of Auschwitz, and I completely misunderstood. I'm a fucking idiot. I'm so sorry. Like, I completely understand it now. It's not my humor, but nobody ever fucking says that, do they? It'll become, because everybody's got that fucking ego inside them where they don't want to be wrong. And I'm probably like that right now. And That's it. I'm probably doing exactly that right now because I've just spent the best part of 20 odd minutes explaining something that went on fucking a year ago and it's still coming up. And the thing about doing a podcast about it, not this one, but somebody else's, somebody else would regurgitate that possibly in the future. And it just, we're forming an idea, a picture of what you're really like, man. Anyway, so that was my interesting day that I've been dealing with today. Well, not really dealing with. It was an interesting thing where somebody would not want you to engage with that, but then suddenly they've got a podcast and want you to engage with it. And I don't mean to say that's the only reason, but that's obviously one of my big interactions with this chap. So that's what he wanted to talk about, but I don't see that it really achieves anything. After my initial yes, I was like, oh, fuck, you could get fucked here. It's all about self-preservation, people. Anyway, that is this week's episode. We got through it. I'm sweating like fuck. It's warm outside. I had other things to talk about, but, we got a bit sidetracked, didn't we? But that's that. Anyway, that is this week's episode of the Ben Briggs podcast. I hope you have a lovely week. I hope if you are going on to any podcasts of anybody else's, that you think it through, people. Yeah? Just try and think it through. Have a fucking wonderful week, motherfuckers. I'll speak to you next week. Take care.